We're going to have a lot of videos being shared on the platform to cater for all the lost time. I trust that all of you belong to a particular group. Is that not it? One that you were born into, and possibly the other that you have created yourself, or you intend creating for yourself. Those groups that you belong to eventually will come together to form a community, a town, a locality, a society in which we live. And you and I know that when these groups of towns and societies and localities come together, they form a nation called Ghana. So the question then is, what is this group that I'm talking about? That I trust all of us were born into one. And again, we may or have already established one on our own. I want to pause a little and then invite answers and responses from my serious-minded students who are far away from me today. Well, I can hear somebody saying family. You are right. So today we're going to begin by looking at what family is all about. And fortunately for you, as students of catering and hospitality, I know most of you, almost all of you have gone through family before, because most of you might have read catering as a program at a secondary school. And one of the courses in the program might have been management in living. And in management in living, I know that family is one of the major themes or topic that you always go through. And even in this university, I believe that you also go through management in living, and family may be one of the topics that you have been taken through or about to be taken through. So almost all of you are familiar with family. One, belong to a family by procreation because you were born into that, orientation, family of orientation in which you were born into that. And some of you may also establish your own family to procreate. So a family that you're born into and a family that you intend to create for yourself. And so we are going to have a tall order for the day with a discussion on the topic family. Having gone through the discussion for the day, it is expected that you'll be able to do the following. By the end of the lesson, we expect you, as my student, to be able to do the following. We expect that you'll be able to define what family is using your own words. I trust that all of us in our own way are capable of defining family. So we'll do so and expect you to be able to define family having gone through the discussion. Then again, we expect that you'll be able to discuss at least 5 characteristics of a family as well. You will also be required to at least identify and discuss any 5 forms of, at least any 5 forms of what family. We also require that you will be asked to at least identify and discuss any 5 types of family. And we also expect you, lastly, to be able to identify and discuss at least any 5 functions of what family. So we have a tall order to go, and these are the objectives, and I'll be evaluating your level of comprehension and understanding at the end of this discussion for the day. Now, once we are all familiar with family, I want you to put pen to paper and try to write your own understanding of family. To write your own understanding of family, how you understand family in that regard. Now, there are numerous definitions of family, from different experts and different authority. We all know family is often seen as the basic cell in every society. In my introduction, I said we belong to a group in which we're born into, or a family of orientation, and we may also belong to a family that we want to create for ourselves. So family is often seen as the basic cell or unit of every society. Group of families come together to form society or community or town or location or locality. And group of towns or communities come together to form a nation. But the definition of family is a bit complex in the sense that the organization of family unit takes different form. It can take the form of marriage. It can take the form of lineage. It can take the form of descent system. It can take the form of kinship relationship, which vary from one society to the other throughout time. And as and when time evolves, issues of family also changes in one way or the other. So definition of family is a bit tedious task if you are asked to define it. In order to be able to have a definition of family that will encompass all the facets of what really constitutes a family is a bit challenging, but we'll do our best to be able to go through. So sociologists have therefore come up with different definitions of family. And this is as a result of the fact that family come in different forms, orientations, manifestations, organizations, and structure, which varies from society to the other, as we have already indicated. However, we will try and look at one such classical definition as opined by Okududu, I suppose a Nigerian, who defines family as a domestic group in which parents and children live together and in its elementary form consists of a couple and their children. So per this definition, it supposes that family will certainly be made up of group of people in the form of parents and that of their children. They look at family as one having children. Indeed, in sociology, there's this school of thought that group of people cannot really see themselves as a true family, not until they bear and raise up children. But there are other differing orientation as whether a man and a wife, a husband and wife without children constitute true family or not. As we move along, we'll be able to know whether they do or they don't. But according to this definition, family is made up of people group of people, basically a man and a wife, a husband and a wife with children. But it could be with or without children, living together or not. But they have an understanding that they want to come together for companionship in order to raise children, in order to support each other. And that constitutes a perfect aspect of what? Family. As a teacher, I have a funny feeling that it's not every name that a teacher should pronounce. Most of you, and almost all of you, and all of you, of course, I might say, have eyes and you can see. So there are some names that I may find difficult to pronounce. And so I will leave it to you guys over there to pronounce it in your own way as you have understood it. My name, Koto, is difficult for a lot of people to pronounce. And so if I'm unable to pronounce somebody's name, a Nigerian, a Kenyan, an Indian, you should pardon me for that. So normally I may be jumping some names. According to Daberman and the other in 1979, as you're going to see pretty soon on your screen, they define family as universal institution whose most important function are to socialize and nurture the young generation. So their ultimate aim is to socialize and nurture the young generation. Who are the young generation? Obviously, the children that they're going to give birth to. Much the same way, according to Farley 1994, the family is a group of people related by ancestry, marriage, or other committed sexual relationship, or adopted and live together to form an economic unit and rear their children, if any. And as I indicated earlier on, it's not every family that they may have children, yet it must be considered as family. In much the same way, Smith and Preston in 1982 also defined family as social group whose members are related either through common ancestry or marriage and are bonded by economic rights and what? Duties. They are bonded by moral and economic rights and duties. So that is how others have also conceptualized family. In all instances, I want you to take a casual look at something, some basic concept underlying almost every definition that we're going to give out. What have you noticed as common denominator in all the definition? I want to pause and find out from you. Well, I can hear some saying that they can see in all the definition group of people. That is true. A marriage appears to be running through. Issues of sexual relationship, adoption also appear to be running through. Purposes of raising up children is also common. And others might also see economic empowerment as also a common denominator with regards to concept underlying the definition of family. We progress and look at more other definitions of family. Much as we're looking at other people's definitions, I trust that you guys are also trying to conceptualize, coming out with your own understanding regarding what is a family, because anytime soon you will be required to write your own understanding of family, as I've said time and again. Now, other authors like Borges and Locke in 1963, they also see family as a group of persons united by ties of marriage, blood, or adoption, constituting a single household, interacting with each other in their respective social role of husband and wife, mother and father, brother and sister, creating a common culture. If you look at this definition pretty well, you realize that the same concepts are also running through marriage, blood ties, adoption, households, and then husband and wife, mother and father, brother and sister who are siblings, and they create common culture. What kind of common culture prevails in a given family? At least orientation to rules and regulation, expected behavior, certain etiquettes like eating habits. All of us will have the same name, bear same name or similar. And there are certain rituals that we do together, morning prayers and all those things form culture of a particular family. Murdoch in 2010 also defines family as a social group characterized by common residence, economic cooperation, and reproduction. So if you look at the definition to same group of people, and here, what are unique things about them? They share common residence, in other words, they live together, and then they have intention of cooperating economically, and then reproducing. That is bringing offspring of their own kind. Recreation aspect of what? Family. Procreation aspect of what? Family. It also includes adults of both sexes, at least two of whom maintain socially approved sexual relationship, and one or more children of their own or those adopted of the sexually cohabiting adults. So family may involve children, it may or may not involve children. But in every family, it's expected that the two adults will have consented sexual relationship because they have been given the license to sexually gratify and satisfy themselves as such. I want to find out, if I'm to ask you, what is the main reason for marriage? What will be your reaction if I ask you to state the major reason for marriage? Some of you are married, and so I expect you to be able to tell me the major reason for which you decided to marry or cohabit with your partner as a man or as a wife. I think some of you may be saying childbearing. Is that not it? Well, that is one of the reasons, but it could not be the major reason. If you go to court and tell the judge that you want to divorce your wife or husband, or because he or she is unable to bear child and give birth, your request will not be granted. However, if you go to court and then pray to the judge and the court that your partner, being the wife or husband, is unable to satisfy you sexually, your request will be granted. So per this scenario, what do you think is the main rationale for marriage? It is for companionship and sexual satisfaction. Childbirth and all other economic empowerment and others stated are bonuses, if I may say so. So if you are not able to give birth in a marriage, don't think that the marriage should come to an end. It should continue because you married just because of companionship and for sexual satisfaction and gratification. I hope I'm making a point to you. So that is it. In the examination, if you are asked to state the major reason for marriage, you should go in for companionship and sexual satisfaction and not childbirth or any other reason. Yes, they are important. Childbirth, economic empowerment, socialization, and all those things are important. Recreation aspect, they are all important, but the major one, as I've indicated, is about companionship and sexual satisfaction. We'll continue on with our definition regarding the concept family. And here we look at McVar 2016, who also see family as group defined by such relationship, sufficiently precise and enduring to provide for procreation and outbringing of children. So if you look at this definition, purely is about sex and child outbringing. Group of people who have consented, who have agreed with the common understanding that they want to live together for the rest of their life so that they satisfy themselves sexually. And as a result of the sexual satisfaction, they may give birth and then raise the children for that matter. Davis in 1949, on the other hand, described family as a group of persons whose relations to one another are based upon issues of consanguinity, which is about blood, and who are therefore kin to one another. According to that name over there, MALINOWSKI, nowadays, how would you pronounce this name? I'll leave it to your own judgment. That man or woman in 1969 opined, the word opined means he said. He said is the same as what? Opined. So he said that family is an institution. He said that family is what? An institution. And what kind of institution is that? Family is an institution within which the cultural traditions of society are handed over to a newer generation. Let me take it again. According to that name in 1969, opined, he said, he stated, he mentioned, he illustrated that family is the institution within which the cultural traditions of society are handed over to a newer generation. So basically, according to this person, family serves as a way of socializing people, younger generation, of course, the children out of that family, into the societal norms and values. And that kind of socialization is a transition of the cultural traditions, cultural values, attitudes that you are supposed to acquire them as a member of that community or society. Failure to adhere to these societal norms and values will make you an outcast and you'll not fit well into a given society. I'll move on with our discussion as we try to now look at some common denominator with regards to issues of definition of family. Earlier on, I asked you to look at all the definitions that we have mentioned, with regards to definition of family, And I said we should look out for some common concepts and words that underline the definition. And I'm going to pause a little and then ask you to look at these key words or concepts as you have identified them, that underline, that underpins, that undergirds the definition of family. What are some of the common concepts? If you want to define family, what are some of the common concepts, words are you going to put together to define them? I can hear somebody loudly saying group of persons or people. You are right. Others are saying people who are related and share ties, either marriage or blood or through adoption, which is also accepted. They may share common residence. Is that not it? Yes. They may have common purpose of sexually satisfying and gratifying themselves. Of course, that is also one. They may have shared values and responsibilities also as one. Some of them may have shared sense of history, and there may be diverse ways and strategies to meet the needs of individuals of the family. Many forms of families, of course. Group of ancestors and ancestry, and share common of what? Kinship. I think these are some of the words, if you want to define family, you're going to put them together into meaningful sentence, and that will suffice as a perfect definition of what? Family. Let's take a look at them. As we said, from the foregoing discussions we have held in the last 10 minutes or so, the various definitions emphasize different ideas that any proper definition of family could also include some of these concepts to perfectly define family. So for example, as I said, they share ties in the form of blood, marriage, or adoption. And they may have sense of shared common residency, and as such, they belong to a common household. Earlier on, I mentioned the word household. I want to find out from you, as students of catering and hospitality education, what is our common understanding of the concept household? I can hear some of you saying that household simply describe people who share a common apartment, of course, and then they eat from a common pot or common bowl. If people live together and they eat from common pot, then we can perfectly describe them as a household. And ideally, every family is supposed to eat from a common pot or bowl. When I say common pot, it means that they cook together and eat together. The wife cook, or whoever is supposed to cook will do the cooking using the same pot, and then they dish out the food and they eat either together or as separate individual. So if you eat from common pot, eat from the same bowl, you have the same coal pot that you eat, or gas cylinder or cooker that you eat from together as a group of people and share the same residency, then we can also use that as one of the concepts to define family. They share sentiments of oneness and togetherness. They see themselves as unified group of people, a common goal and shared aspiration. That is also one of the concepts you can use to define family. They have shared values and responsibilities, and they perform caregiving services for each other, especially the very young ones. They are there to nurture and care for them. We continue by looking at common concepts that underline the definition of what family. And we look at issues of biological, legal, emotional attachment, which is also part of the definition of family. Any perfect definition of family should include the group of people who are biologically, legally, emotionally having common attachment. Then again, shared sense of history, then diverse strategies to meet the needs as individuals and as a whole of that group of people who have consented to live together as a family. Then many forms of family. We're soon going to look at forms and types of family, so we'll go deeper into that. This group of people may have common ancestors that they trace their lineage from, and then they have kind of relationship with their members in the form of kinship group. So this These and many others are the concepts that we can use and put them together into meaningful sentence anytime we intend defining a family. I'm going to give you 2 to 3, 5 minutes now to put pen to paper and try to conceptualize your own understanding as to what is a family. In other words, I expect you to be able to define family perfectly, just as you have understood it. We have listened to a lot of other definitions, and this is your time to also try to conceptualize the definition of a family. If you ask me, as I'm waiting for you to write yours and then read them out at wherever that you are, though we may not be able to listen to your reading because it's not, though it's a live recording, but it's not interactive, whereby this is a kind of asynchronous lecture, but not, we are not together, and we can be together virtually, but this time around we are not together. So it's not a live recording as such, though live from my end, but not from your end. So you will not be able to read it out for me to hear. But when we go to the platform, I expect you to be able to write out what you have conceptualized as a perfect definition of family, and then post them on the WhatsApp platform or Telegram platform, so that together we can have a thorough discussion of your definition in a form of critiquing your definition so that we get the best out of you. If you ask of my personal opinion as to what constitutes a family, my conceptualization with regards to family is that it is often composed of a group of people who have decided to live together for the rest of their life, if possible, involving a man and a woman who operate as a wife and husband with intention to produce babies, or with that, but they can adapt. And then they are there to support each other sexually, emotionally, economically, to empower each other. And that group of people, to me, constitute a perfect family. So that is my conceptualization of family. Simply, we can say it's made up of a group of people who share ties in form of blood, marriage, or adoption. That can be perfect definition of what family. Others may also say that family is a social institution that unites people into cooperative group to oversee bearing, upbringing, and raising of children. And family is made up of persons who are directly linked by kin connections, or adults who assume caring for themselves and their children and the young ones for that matter. So you, in your own way, will be able to write your own definition of family. Right? Just put words together, the major concept underlying the definition, put them together and try to write what is your understanding regarding family. Whichever definition that you have been able to compose, wherever that you are now, I want you to read it loudly out there. And if there are some corrections to be made, you do so. And then compare with what others have said. If yours is in line with what is acceptable, then that is your own definition of family. I know you'll be able to do that. This is not beyond you at all. And I trust my students as capable beings, capable of defining family. I don't doubt your capability at all. I trust in your sense of judgment as well. And so a good teacher is one who say, my students, and not good for nothing student. I see you as good student of mine, and I trust that you have been able to write something down with regards to your own understanding of family. Enough being said about family. What is family? how we understand family, how we can explain family to the understanding of others. Now that we are in the known as to what family is, we progress to the next subtopic for the discussion. And this caters on what is known as unique attribute, traits, or characteristics of a family. Unique attribute, traits, or characteristics of what? Family. In other words, what really makes family a family. Aside the definition, there are some unique things that stand out. Family is a universal institution. It operates in every part of this world. Everywhere you go, be in Cambodia, Swaziland, India, Kenya, South Africa, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, Ghana, Nigeria, wherever on this planet, there is a family. So there's the issue of universality as a characteristic or an attribute of what? Family. There are many other attributes of family. There are many other traits of family. There are many other features of what? Family. And we're going to begin by looking at mating relationship. Remember, I said the major reason for marriage is about what? Do you remember? I said not childbearing per se, but rather what? Yes, I can hear somebody saying companionship, right? Yes, companionship. You are right. Is this for companionship and possibly sexual relationship and satisfaction or gratification, whichever way you want to look at it? Now, the one characteristic or unique attribute or trait or feature of family has to do with mating relationship. Every family comes into existence when a man and a woman establish mating relationship between them or among them. Very soon we're going to look at types of family and realize that we have group marriage. We're going to look at types of marriage and realize that we have group marriage. So if it's group marriage, then it is a kind of established mating relationship, not between two people, but among the many people who have come together to form that type of what? Marriage. So mating relationship, the sexual relationship between or among the partners. Times have changed and keep on changing. Traditionally, in African setting, marriage is between two people and normally is between a man and a woman. But very soon we're going to look at various types of marriage and realize that modern marriage, we have gayism and lesbianism, and then so we can have man-man marriage, woman-woman marriage. But in our cultural setting as Africans, we still hold on to our tradition and we go by man and a woman mating relationship, what is a unique characteristic of what? Family. Then again, we also have another unique attribute of family in a form of what? Marriage. You realize that one of the key characteristics of the definition of family has to do with what? Marriage, adoption, and blood ties, these ties. So the form of marriage can also be an attribute of what? Family. Before we can have a proper family, there should be marriage. Then out of the marriage, we bring forth to offspring of our own kind in the form of children. Then that constitutes our nuclear family for that matter. So forms of marriage also is a unique attribute of what? Family. Out of the mating relationship that has been fostered and established early on, as we indicated, that through which marriage as an institution is established. And this marriage also go further to regulate the sexual relationship and behavior of opposite sex as an institution. And then through the institution of marriage, mating relationship is established. Therefore, without marriage, family cannot be possible and we cannot compose a family. Hence, family is often seen as a form of what? Marriage. I have earlier on explained that without marriage, we cannot have a family in a sense, unless, and even that, a family of orientation also came, which you were born into, also came about as a result of your father and mother deciding to marry. Then they produce you as an offspring. Then you grow up and you also decide to go and form your own family. Through marriage, you also establish your own type of family. So before we have a family, marriage should precede family as a unique attribute. We also go a step further to look at other key attributes of what? Family. And that has to do with the issue of common habitation, shared residence, common home, common household, common residency, as we have indicated earlier on. Ideally, a perfect family should live together and they have common residence, living together, and they eat from the same pot, as which constitute a household. But modern families may not live together because of economic reasons, because people travel abroad. Some of you here as students here may have your husband living in Germany, Australia, Oslo, or Denmark, or any Japan or China or whatever. And so you live together with your children, and or the wife may be abroad and the husband may be in Ghana. But ideally, as a unique attribute of family, you should live together. Even people who are in a form of cohabitation. You know cohabitation? Do you understand the concept cohabitation? Some of you are cohabiting, but you don't understand that cohabitation as a term. Established boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, where officially you are not married, yet they live together, and they have even gone ahead to produce a baby without marriage. That kind of serious boyfriend-girlfriend relationship is professionally termed as cohabitation. So a lot of us might be cohabiting without proper form of what? Marriage. That is what we call cohabitation. So you have a common habitation, living together. A family requires a home or household for a living. Without a dwelling place, the task of childbearing and child upbringing cannot be adequately performed, as you know. Without proper home, upbringing of children becomes difficult. Members of a family should have common habitation or household or residency where they live together. And that will foster unity, companionship, understanding, proper socialization, and we're able to regulate the behavior of our children. If we live elsewhere and children live elsewhere, chances are our children will go well. Is that not it? So every perfect family has a unique attribute or characteristic. Should have a common dwelling place, common habitation, or possibly residency, or a home for themselves. Another key attribute of family, it comes in the form of system of nomenclature. System of what? Nomenclature. Some of you, as soon as you mention your name, your father or mother will not need any introduction to that person whom you are introducing yourself to. I am always proud to say that the name Koto is not common in Ghana. Whoever that is called Koto, that is spelled as Kotor, can be my family member. Either we belong to the same kinship system or lineage or descent, because that name is common to my family. My father is the one named as Koto, and the spelling is Kotor. That gives my family a common nomenclature. Every family has a unique surname. Is that not it? What is your surname that you might have inherited from your father or a member of the family? So this kind of nomenclature is a unique attribute of the family. You may have your own special family name that runs through all the members of that family. You know, even as a woman, when you marry, you change your name, then you take that of your husband. That gives a nomenclature. So what I'm trying to say is that as a common attribute of family, issue of nomenclature is very important. A family is known by a particular name, which is unique to that family. It has a system of reckoning descent. And I said descent lineage is a way of recalling the name of the members of that particular family. Descent may be recognized through male line or through the mother's line. Depending on the kind of inheritance system that we have as a group of people. Some of us will inherit from our mother's line, others inherit from our father's line. If you inherit from your mother's line, chances are that most of you will be named after the members of your mother's family. If you inherit from your father's line, chances are that most of the siblings will be named after the relatives and relations and kins of your father. And soon we're going to look at inheritance systems that we have in Ghana. There are three major inheritance systems the world over. Those from the patrilineals, that is from the father's side, matrilineal from the mother's side, then combination of the two. There are some people who inherit from both the father's side and the mother's side, which is the third type of inheritance. So we'll look at it detailed later on as we progress in our discussion of the course by name, African Family and Kinship System. I trust that my students are enjoying the lecture and they are not sleeping, they are not dozing off, they are not getting distracted by WhatsApping, Facebooking, tweeting, and at the same time listening and watching this video. If that is what you're doing, then I implore you to change your attitude and focus fully, and then you'll be able to follow the discussion that is being unfolded to you. I am enjoying myself in this office located at the faculty block, specifically office number 018. That's where I'm located. And I'm broadcasting this lecture to you wherever that you may be at the moment. As you see me, I'm not sleeping, and I don't expect you to also listen to me or watch this video and you'll be sleeping. Either than that, you lose attention and might not be able to follow the discussion. And at the end of the day, when we are evaluating the lesson, you will not be able to answer the expected questions. You remember the objectives that I gave out? Do you remember? Yes, I said at the end of the lesson, I expect all of you to be able to define family. Is that not it? List at least 5 characters of family. Is that not it? State some types of family, some functions of family, some forms of family. These are what I'm expecting you to be able to do. So if you are sleeping, you cannot concentrate and follow, and you'll be lost along the line. I don't want any one of you to be lost. So let us concentrate and follow the discussion as is unfolded. We'll continue by looking at other key attributes of family or characteristics of what? Family. One of them has to do with economic provision or empowerment. In the definitions that we have looked earlier on, most of them were having a concept, economic empowerment, economic support, supporting each other economically. Every family needs economic provision in order to satisfy some economic needs. Anything you want to provide for the family, you need money to do that. So economically, family need to be empowered. And as a key attribute of family, it's expected that as the head of the family, you carry this provision of economic issue. The father, who often in our system happens to be the head of the family, should be economically empowered so that you're able to provide basic, fundamental, physiological needs like provision of food, clothing, shelter, health, medication, and be able to pay fees for your kids and satisfy them economically. Other than that, the family will be a dysfunctional family. Have you ever heard of the term dysfunctional family? We'll look at it. Family that is not performing and functioning as expected is often described as dysfunctional family. This X, Y, and then dysfunctional. We'll look at it as a major concept later on in our discussion. So economically, family are supposed to be empowered as a unique attribute. The other is that there's a system of interaction and communication. Mind you, I said the purpose of marriage, major purpose of marriage is for what? Companionship. keeping company of the other, meeting the social needs of our partners, meeting the emotional needs of our partners, making them happy, helping them to laugh out. When they are sad, you are there to empathize and sympathize with them. You communicate to the understanding, relate and socialize meaningfully with every member of the family. So there should be proper, cordial father-mother relationship, father-daughter relationship, mother-son relationship, son-daughter relationship. In other words, the kind of relationship that should ensue between or among the siblings, and for that matter, the children of that parent. It is important that we communicate and communicate professionally, ethically, as expected, in order to keep the family intact and interact meaningfully and relate meaningfully as expected. We have already dealt with economic provision, and we're now looking at the issue of what? System of interaction and communication as expected. The family is composed of persons who ought to interact and communicate and relate with each other in their social role, being as a man, husband, woman, wife, mother, father, son, daughter relationship. It should be cordial. The father should not be too strict, where instead of you creating mutually exclusive home environment, you rather end up, instead of creating a kind of open climatic condition in the home, you end up having a closed one. Whenever the father is not at home, the mother and the children are happy. When they hear the sound of the motorbike of the father or the sound of the car of the father, the mother runs into her room and the children also run into their room. I'm sorry to say that you are a bad father. A good father should be able to relate cordially and meaningfully. You should be the one that the children will run to you and hug you, caress you, cuddle you, and say, Daddy, you're welcome home. Mommy, you're welcome home. And that is the kind of relationship, communication that should ensue in every given family. And then orientate them into meaningful socialization and culture, traditions, customs, norms of the given society where you find yourself. And out of the societal norms, values, and custom, a family should also be able to create its own one that is unique to the identity of that particular family. And it's important that we do that in the form of interaction and communication. It is important to mention that family is composed of persons that are united by ties in the form of blood, marriage, or adoption. And to maintain this, there should be a common distinctive culture, tradition, values, norms, etiquettes, as we have earlier on stated. We have earlier on looked at the unique attribute of family. Here, we're going to go further to look at distinctive, unique, special. The first one were general features of family. In other words, general attribute, characteristics, or traits of family. We go further and deeper this time to look at distinctive, meaning unique, special features or traits or attribute or characteristics of what? Family. I hope you are still on board. You are not dozing, you are not sleeping, you are not getting bored, and I hope I'm not boring you, but rather helping you to follow the discussion as expected. If it is that you are sleeping, I implore you to stand up, take a little walk as you keep on listening. And before the lecture, I expect you to have a cup of water right in front of you, or juice, a bottle of juice, or candy or biscuits, so that if you want to sleep, you take it, and that will help you not to sleep. None of you should be holding the chin in the arm this way. Don't sleep in a lazy this way. If you rest your chin in your arm this way whilst listening to me, chances are that you're rather inviting sleep and you're going to sleep. Sit upright. Don't exert unnecessary pressure at your backbone. Sit upright. Make sure that your back touches the edge of the table this way so that you reduce the chances of sleeping and you'll be able to follow me. Let's boss on by looking at the unique attribute or features or characteristics of family. I think when I started this aspect of the discussion, after we have dealt with the definition of family, and I said we're going to look at characteristics of family, one of the things that I said is that family is a universal, global institution. And as such, there's family everywhere on this planet, irrespective of the continent that one may find himself or herself. And you remember I mentioned the term universality as a key attribute of family. Yes, it's in the universe, it's uniform. The whole world, there's family. And that is why I said, whether the family is small, whether the society is small or large or big, there is a family. Whether it's an advanced society, developed society, or developing society, there is a family. So there is issue of universality. Family is universal. It is a common denominator in every society for that matter. And is one of the key attributes of family. The family is a universal institution in the sense that it was formed in many simpler societies. In advanced societies, the whole social structure is built on family unit. According to Mark Va, it says that family is found in all societies, at all stages of social development, and exists far below the human level and among myriad species of animals. Every human being, for that matter, is a member of some family. Even in the animal kingdom, there are families. Haven't you seen monkeys, father monkey, mommy monkey, with their children being protected by the man? Yes. It's very common with fowls, chicken, guinea fowls that we have in our home. Anytime you see a hawk hovering around trying to catch one of the chicken, you see the mother covering the chicken, the case with the feathers. Is that not it? To protect the children. And that is the kind of protection we receive as members of family the world over. A man is supposed to be the head of security to his family at all times. It's going to protect your family. And that kind of protection we receive from the members as members of the family indicates that it's happening across the globe and the world over. And that is one of the distinctive attributes of family with regards to universality. We said we marry in order to get emotional attachment. Is that not it? Yes. And so one of the unique attributes of family has to do with the issue of emotional basis. The man should be there for the wife, and the wife should be there for the husband in times of need. If you lose a relative, you are sacked from your job, you hear an unpleasant news, the wife is supposed to comfort the man and vice versa. What kind of emotional relationship should exist between the husband and the wife? What kind of emotional relationship do you think should exist between the husband and the wife? Who can answer this? Yes. Who is ready? Well, I can assume that one of you will be ready now. And you may be thinking of an issue of love. That is the kind of relationship that should exist between a husband and a wife. There should be love relationship, emotional attachment. What about that of a mother and son, or father and daughter? What kind of emotional relationship should exist? Yes, love should be there, but there should be proper care. Is that not it? There should be proper care. A father should care a lot for the children. Mother should care a lot for the children. What kind of relationship should ensue between siblings, brothers and sisters? What kind of emotional relationship do you think should exist between the two? I'm asking you. and I humbly require that you answer this. Well, I can overhear somebody saying affection. Yes, there should be proper affection between or among siblings in every given family. So there's emotional basis as a distinctive attribute of what? Family. What I want to say is that, and we have earlier on looked at universality, we're now looking at emotional basis. Every family is based on human impulses of mating, procreation, that is child upbringing, motherly devotion, and parental love and care. Of course, as I've said earlier on, a father should love and care for the kids. A mother, a wife should love the husband. A husband should love a wife. Children should have affection for each other or for one another. I think that's the best way to go. The members of a family have emotional attachment with each other, love between the husband and the wife. Parents and children make the family an institution of self-sacrifice. We are there as each other's keeper. We don't just let others to fall into trouble. We're there to care and protect them from all form of harm. Hence, emotion is a foundation on which every family is built. Indeed, a family without proper emotional bond will not be seen as a perfect family. A family where they are not emotionally attached to one another, to each other, can be seen as a perfect family, but rather will be seen as what? A dysfunctional family, as we have hinted earlier on. Aside universality and emotional attachment as unique and distinctive attribute of family, we have many others that we're going to look at, and that has to do with issue of limited size. Limited or size. Now, funnily, in a funny way, I want to ask this. What is your ideal or preferred family size? Some ladies want to give birth to only 3 kids. Some may want to give birth to only 1. Some want to give birth to 10, 20, 15. Is it possible to give birth to 20 kids from a single or by a single mother? Husband can give birth to 40 children because they may have multiple wives that they want to have children with. You know, it is often said jokingly that in Africa, every man is polygamous. Is that true? Yes, traditionally men in Africa are polygamous. They marry more than one wife. But the trend has changed. And as I always ask my students, is it the case that you modern ladies over here are more powerful than your great-grandmothers, your mothers and grandmothers? I'm asking you. Why am I asking this question as whether you're powerful more than them? Your grandmothers and great-grandmothers allowed their husband to marry more than one wife. But you modern wives not allowing modern husbands to marry more than one. Why? This means that you're powerful, right? You're able to speak to the conscience and the mind and the heart of your husband not to marry more than one. That is just by the way anyway. But issue of limited size is often determined in a given family. Some family will be large, others may be small, depending on the preference of that particular family. So we're looking at limited size as a unique attribute and distinctive attribute of what? Family. The family is very small in size. If it's a nuclear, it may be large when it's what we call them or nuclear family or extended family or blended family. We'll soon be looking at types of family as well. And you understand all this. Although you are much familiar with this concept already as students of catering, as I hinted earlier on. It is also known that the smallest primary group is said to be a family. It is a small social institution as well. And it includes a husband and a wife and the persons who are born in it or probably might have been adopted. The relationship among the members of a family are direct, intimate, close, personal, and then permanent. It could also be temporal. In this modern world, it can be temporal, but ideally it ought to be a permanent relationship. This is possible only due to small size of family. Family is often seen as very small as compared to that of society, as compared to that of a town, as compared to that of what, a community, as compared to that of a district, a region, or a country, a nation, or continent, or world for that matter. Further, the smallest of the family brings stability in the families. If the family is too small, certainly we're able to manage things and resources in the family. That is why modern Ghanaian society is always shifting from that extended blended type of family to a much more nuclear family, a small one that we can easily meet the needs financially, economically, we can empower them. Other than that, formerly they were giving birth to a lot of children and having a very large family size. But economic hardship is now helping us to deviate from that norm. And now everybody is looking at a sizable, manageable family size that economically they can empower and then manage resources, the limited resources that they may have at their disposal. So by and large, the unique attribute of family is that it has a limited size. And the members of the family may decide the size, how small that family should be. Is up to you to determine that. We move on to look at yet another attribute, which is about nuclear position. With regards to all the different types of grouping, the family plays an important role so far as it prepares the individual for participation in all these secondary groups for their demands and situations. It serves as a nucleus for the growth of other types of groupings, which never deals with the cultureless creation that newly born children may be, or the newly born child is. All that we're saying is that the family places the child into the central, the nucleus part of the group, which becomes the pivotal ends in which the new members of the family in the form of newly born kids might be situated and then taken care of. And we continue with our discussion on the unique attribute or characteristics of what family. And here we're going to concentrate our effort on the issue of formative influence as a unique attribute of a family. I think a functional family ought to be able to exert enough proper, positive, cordial, meaningful, stimulating, enabling, facilitating influence on the members of the family. They ought to exert some most profound influence on the family members positively. Why do we need that kind of positive influence? In order to be able to have personality trait that will be accepted, that will be expected by meeting the norm, the tradition, the custom, the orientation, the rules and regulations of the society that you may find yourself in. So as a unique attribute of a family, there should be formative influence. You know, there is this saying in child psychology that a child can be made or unmade within the first 8 years of life. And whoever that family is, the member of the family is supposed to be, whether a good child or a bad child, is determined by this formative influence at the small family level. Your child may become wayward from the home. A child become wayward in the family, then end up becoming wayward in the entire society. And members are expected to mold and model the nature. This is an environmental influence on human development, of course. Next semester, God's willing, I'll be taking you to the next 2 semesters, of course. I'll be taking through child psychology, human growth and development, or psychology of human growth and development, or educational psychology. And when we get there, we'll take time to explain the influences of environment, influence of hereditary on prenatal and total general development of what human being. Here, what we're saying is that as members, it is our duty to ensure that children are orientated, children are socialized meaningfully into culture, tradition, norms, and values of every society. And this kind of great influence should be done at the family level. Do you know that when a member of a family goes out and misbehave and he carries the name Koto, it is a disgrace not only to that boy called Koto, but rather to all the members of that family. In order not to let one of our own go and disgrace us, then we need to be able to socialize them meaningfully and influence them as expected. The family exerts most profound influence on its members. The personality of an individual is molded in the family. The family customs, traditions, morals. Do you understand this word morals? It's the same as morals, right? Morals and norms have great influence in the shaping the personality of its members, especially, as I said, during the early childhood years. Family, therefore, is the most effective agency of the process of socialization, integration, and social control. If you want your child to behave in a particular acceptable way, you model their behavior in that family by setting clear rules and regulations. Not only that, you model the expected behavior as a father, being a proper role model so that you have positive influence on them. Therefore, I don't expect you as wives to be insulting your husbands in front of the children. Neither do I expect you as a man to be beating your wife in front of what? Your kids. If you do so, you are instilling in them, inculcating in them the culture of what? Selling. And the children will grow up, they will also buy canes for their wives. I'm going to tell you a nice story, which is real, not a story per se, but it happened. There's a small village around Tepa area in this Ashanti region where a particular husband has two canes, one purposely for the children and one for the wife. And anytime the wife engages the man in a heated argument, he tells the children to go and bring the cane of the mother. Children run and go and bring it, and the mother will be cane in front, right in front of the children. This is a kind of behavior. If you keep on doing that, what are you instilling the men, the boys in the family, the children, the boys? You are telling them that when they also grow up, they should also go and buy canes for their wife. I have always said time and again that if not because of education, training, globalization, and modern socialization, chances are that all of us are going to be the kind of husband that our father was to our mother, and likewise the kind of mother that kind of wife that your mother was to your father. If your father bought cane for your mother, chances are that when you grow, you also buy cane for your wife. But I think as essence of education, you have been educated, and there are certain things that were done imperfectly in our family when we're growing up. And I don't expect you as educated men and women to do the same thing that you were not happy with your father and mother when you were a child. Do the same thing in your family. Don't do that. Don't have culture of silence in your family where your wife and children cannot talk. Try and cultivate democratic child upbringing style in your family, parenting style, so that children will have a stake in everything, and anything for discussion they can contribute so that they grow up to become more assertive. Other than that, if you keep on always putting fear, panic, and anxiety in them, they grow up to become timid, and that will affect even the academic pursuit in later years. The other attribute, unique one, of course, has to do with responsibility of members. You know that there are expected roles and responsibilities for each member of the family. There are roles and responsibility for the mother, that of the father, and that of the children. You as a wife or husband, what are you obliged to do? I want to hear you. What are you expected to do as a man? Yes, I think I mentioned some earlier on. Head of the family, head of discipline, economic issues. You should be in charge. You should love and care for your children. Model behavior as a role model so that children can learn from you. Don't always make it as if that cooking is only for the mother, so that when after work you go home and your wife is not back, you cross your legs and then start reading newspapers and articles and journals and watch TV and soccer. Let us tell the children that a man too can cook, so that when the children grow up, they will not see the cooking as sole duty of what? Women or ladies or girls for that matter. So everybody has a responsibility to play and discharge it. Children are supposed to run errands. Sometimes possible, they're also supposed to empower the family economically. The mother is supposed to provide all the basic physiological needs, food, shelter, clothing, making sure the room, the house is tidy. And all these are responsibilities that we share them. They are shared responsibilities. Everyone, each and every one of us has a role to play. And it's only when we all accept that role and perform them, then mutually, then cooperatively, then it's expected that the family will be seen as functional one and not dysfunctional one. As we see in the slide, said that the members of the family have a deep sense of responsibility and oblige for the family. Due to this sense of responsibility, all members discharge. Grammatically, I think that it should be all members discharge, not discharges their duties. All the members of the family have joint responsibility. In family, the children learn about their responsibilities and cooperation, just as you model to them as a mother and a father. Let us be positive role models to our children and not that of what? A negative one. And that is a responsibility we owe as members of the family and we owe as parents to our children who are integral part of the family. We look at the last two distinctive attributes of family, then we really move on to look at forms of family, types of family, and the functions of family. We have more topics to cover before we will bring our lesson and discussion to closure and conclusion. Again, I hope you are not getting bored and you are following me and you are participating and you have pen in front of you and you are jotting down notes as and when necessary. As you see things on the screen and you think that it is something you want to jot down, you do so that you take note. Already I've shared the slides with you, so you can also print them out. But much as the slides are with you, I'm adding something new, which is not here. So if there's any addition you think is necessary, you want to add, then you have the pen, you add them in your own words, just as you have understood them. Now, welcome back from the short commercial break, and we'll continue our discussion on distinctive features or attributes of family. One has to do with social regulation. Social what? Regulation. How to regulate the behavior of children to conform to the societal norms and values. It says that society that is collective, society that is the collectivity, keeps the collective and wider view in mind, and has to ensure by evolving mores. You remember this word mores? I said mores the same as what? Morals. Morals is what? The rightness or the goodness or badness of what one's action or inaction and behavior. Cocktails and individuals, 4 ways that the individual member in a family do perform all these functions towards each other on the basis of which the wider network of social relationship is dependent for its success. So that the family will be seen as successful, functional one, and not a dysfunctional one. That is an example can be that there are social restrictions on divorce in almost every society. No society puts some bricks. It applies some rules and regulations to regulate and check our lifestyle. In every society frowns on issue of divorce. Every society does not approve armed robbery. Every society does not approve thievery. Every society does not approve aggressive behavior. Every society does not approve insulting behavior. And every society certainly does not approve laziness. So the family help in regulating our social duties and responsibilities in the form of meaningful socialization by establishing rules and regulations and modeling expected behavior so that we end up conforming to societal rules and regulations. And when the society is able to help the members to conform to such rules and regulations, then we say the family in question, this family particular, is what? A functional, perfect, and a good one for that matter. All too soon, we can bring our discussion on the distinctive features of what? Family. But before we do so, we talk about the last one, attribute, which is about persistent and change. You know, there are certain things that are constant in every family, permanent in every family. There are certain things that are subject to change, and there are certain things that are what? Temporal. You know, that issue of marriage is a permanent institution. Ideally, marriage should be a permanent institution. Children should be permanent features of a family, or other things being equal. But issues like residency can change. Today you may live at Kwala, the next time you may live at Bantima, the next time you may be in Accra, Hohoi, Damango, Tumu, or Azim, or wherever that you may find yourself. These are things that are subject to change, but the others are constant and others are persistent in nature. The family may be permanent or temporal by nature. As an institution, it is permanent. Family ideally is supposed to be permanent. Once you marry, it's a lifetime union and companionship. Though divorce can come way, separation can come way, one way or the other, but ideally it's expected to be lifelong institution. When marriage people, after marriage, settle in an independent residence, the family continues to exist with another member. Hence, the family is permanent as an institution. Family, on the other hand, may be temporary and transitional. It's subject to change depending on certain dynamics and situations. Because the structure of family changes over time, in size, in composition, in status, financially, a lot of things are subject to change. Educationally, you might have married somebody with no educational background. But out of empowerment, out of support from one another or each other, the person becomes an educated person. You may marry as poor couples, but with time you may be rich. You may marry without children, and with time you produce offspring of your own, so that the family size may change. But there are certain things that are constant. Can you think of anything that exists in the family that ought to be constant? Can you think through things that are supposed to be persistent, constant? Can you think through? Yes, I hear somebody saying love. Yes, love, affection, caring, nurturing, and are supposed to be permanent feature of a family. If one family to progress, if one family to be functional, progressive family, then we expect that at all times possible as well, we support each other emotionally, we care for each other, we love each other, we nurture each other, we ensure there are rules and regulations that we conform, we model expected behavior. These are constant, permanent features.